Tanzania and Indonesia set to deepen ties as President Joko Widodo arrives. Good evening once again. I'm Agnes Tuniga. You can also follow us live via YouTube channel, TBC Online, and also get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter pages at TBC Online. President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan says religious leaders have a great role to play in overseeing moral values in the country and directs them to safeguard the existing peace and stability. Dr. Samia made the call in Arusha during the 60th anniversary of the establishment of Evangelical Lutheran Church Tanzania, ELCT, earlier today. Here is the report by Sechelela Kongola, read by Faithangaga.
A special service for the 60th anniversary of the Evangelical Lutheran Church Tanzania, which is being led by the Bishop of the Western Diocese of Tabora, Dr. Isaac Kisiri. The official guest of honor is the President of Tanzania, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, who insists on safeguarding the moral values.
I have heard and understood all that you have said here today, Bishop Shaw. You talked about security, peace, and unity. I want to assure you all that no one is capable of dividing this nation. No one is capable of destroying peace and unity that this nation has built over years. That message should be enough for today.
Then President Samia issues a directive to the religious institutions regarding environmental conservation.
I wish to see every religious institution prepare a strategic plan for fighting environmental pollution. The government is focused on empowering citizens to use alternative sources of energy, such as the aforementioned Shinyanga Solar Project, and another one is about to be established. We also have the Singida Wind Power Project. We are also building the Julius Nyerere Hydropower Project. We are in the final stages of discussions with LNG investors. This will increase our capacity to use the gas that we have, both at the domestic and international level. This will make us refrain from deforestation, and therefore our environment will be protected.
Dr. Isaac Kisiri is the Bishop of the Western Diocese of Tabora, calls on the community to support efforts done by the government to move the nation forward, while the head of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania, Bishop Dr. Frederick Shaw, says the church supports the investment efforts done by the government.
I want to make it clear that the KKKT Church support the DP World investment. We also understand that all you want is for Tanzania to have lucrative investments. I am thankful to God that He has granted you wisdom to not make any comment to those who are against this investment.
Earlier, the Arusha Regional Commissioner John Mongela stressed on the importance of the community to maintain peace, which is supported by the BAKWATA Secretary Nuru Mruma.
There was no way of attaining development without the contribution of religious institutions as well. Citizens are always touched by the contribution of religious institutions, regardless of their own individual beliefs. As religious leaders, we will continue to advise the government and also to cooperate in the various issues of the state. But above all, we will continue to pray for our leaders so that peace can be maintained in our country.
The 60th anniversary of the church goes hand in hand with the general meeting and the election of the head of the church.
The President of the Republic of Indonesia, Joko Widodo, has arrived in the country for a two-day working visit, which aims at fostering new areas of cooperation in the business, blue economy, energy, health, agriculture, mining, education, and immigration sectors. Rehema Sebabili has more.
The visit of President Joko Widodo to the country is the second of the country's top leadership to Tanzania after the second president of Indonesia, Suharto, visited Tanzania 32 years ago. Speaking earlier in Dar es Salaam, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Dr. Stergomena Tax, disclosed that President Widodo will be received by his host President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan at the State House tomorrow in Dar es Salaam for a private talk and followed with an official meeting where several agreements will be signed to strengthen economic diplomacy between the two countries.
We believe
that the talks will focus on the various areas that we have identified as Tanzania. But with them as our colleagues, we are ready to strengthen cooperation in the areas of health, energy, minerals, the blue economy, international cooperation, trade, and immigration. Following those discussions, we believe that there will be the signing of various documents and several agreements to be signed.
Furthermore, Dr. Tax adds that President Widodo will also have lunch with his host, President Samia Suluhu Hassan, and he will also visit his country's embassy in the country before concluding his visit and return to Indonesia tomorrow. Tanzania and Indonesia have a long-standing relationship that began in 1955 through the Bandung Conference, where many Asian and African nations at the time were under colonial rule. The conference served as the platform for the founding of the United States of Non-Aligned Movements, NAM, where the nations committed to stepping up their cooperation in the fight against colonial rule. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Rahima Sibabili, TBC News.
The Forum of Public Institutions, Chief Executive Officers, CEOs, has come to an end today in Arusha, where emphasis continues to be best ways the public entities can be run financially independent and generate profit. During the opening of the forum, the President of United Republic of Tanzania hinted on taking serious actions on the public parastatals that fail to perform. To put into perspective how crucial and timely the forum was, we are joined by Said Baraka Kambi, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Institute of Directors, Tanzania IODT, talking to my colleague, Teddy Mparanyanga.
Agnes Tuniger, and back to our guest here. The CEO Forum 2023 took place last weekend. In your opinion, how essential was this forum?
Thank you very much. My name is Said Kambi from Institute of Directors. And I will start by commending the Treasury Registrar of the United Republic of Tanzania government, as well as the committee that made that particular meeting possible. And I'm commending them because I mean that it was necessary and very important. I think it's the new lease of life that has been brought by the Tiara, Mr. Nehemiah Mchechu, to see how to bring up efficiency and effectiveness through appropriate corporate governance measures to the state-owned enterprises. Definitely, I was not there, but I've heard from the sideline that a lot of important issues were discussed regarding, I think, principles, as well as in so many ways, new ways of, working, adopting, new standards and so on. It will be very important first in terms of being a novelty. It's something that as I would say not has been seen recently. At the IODT we have done this five years ago twice, but otherwise it was not from internally from the government. So the government and the TR have to be commended for that. The novelty is very important. Always new things will bring new ways of thinking and so on and so forth.
Okay, and recently even the President herself has stressed on how it is important for public institutions to be business-oriented. Where do you think, in your own opinion, public parastatals fail to be business-oriented?
I've said this before, and I'm quoting John Maxwell, that everything rises and falls on leadership. So whenever you see something is not working, when you go back, you'll find that probably leadership is a problem and vice versa. And for that reason, we'll go back to say that mostly has been corporate governance in three aspects. The three aspects is how do you get the boards? We call it the recruitment problem. Secondly is once you get the boards, how do you get them to be the best? We call it development problem. And thirdly, how do you know that you're doing well, which we call it the assessment problem. You'll be surprised that today at the Dar es Salaam Stock Exchange, I think there's only one woman chairman of all the listed companies, which is really bad. I'm not happy about it, and no one will be happy about it. But secondly, after the gender, we also have division regarding expertise. For instance, I'll give you an example. ICT nowadays is everything in business. If you look around in our boards, you do not find as many ICT leaders sitting as board members and so on. So to conclude on this particular aspect, you need a balanced board that will give that particular company, enough oversight responsibility, in all the areas that they touch upon.
Back to you, Agnes Tuniga.
Thank you very much, Teddy Mparanyanga, for that report. Tanzania and the Comoro Islands vow to maximize on the upcoming Permanent Joint Commission JPC meeting, which targets to strengthen economic ties between the two nations. Here are more details.
The assurance has been made when the Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Dr. Stargoman Attacks, met with the ambassador of the Comoro Islands in the country, Dr. Ahmada El Badawi Mohammed, in Dar es Salaam. The two leaders have discussed various areas of cooperation and how to make use of the upcoming Permanent Joint Commission, JPC, to boost ties, especially in the priority sectors like trade, investment, health, transport, education, culture, blue economy, and other areas. The ambassador of the Comoro Islands in the country, Dr. Ahmada Mohammed, says Comoro is proud to have strong ties with Tanzania and vows to continue to cooperate with the Tanzanian government.
Minister of Finance Dr. Mwigulu Nchemba, who leads the Tanzanian delegation in Beijing, China, has met and held talks with the president of the Exim Bank, Ren Xiangjun, and his deputy Zhang Wenkai, where various issues of cooperation between the bank and Tanzania were discussed. Exim Bank is funding various projects in Tanzania, including the construction of the Tanzania Standard Gauge Railway, SGR. The visit of the Tanzanian delegation included the Minister of State, President Office, Finance and Planning, Zanzibar, Saada Mkuya Salum, Minister of Work, Communications and Transport, Zanzibar, Dr. Khalid Salum Mohammed, Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Dr. Natu El Mamri Mwamba, Permanent Secretary, President's Office, Finance and Planning, Zanzibar, Dr. Juma Malik Akil, former Ambassador of Tanzania to China, Mbelwa Kairuki, and several other senior government officials. The government has started the implementation of tarmac road to connect Arusha and Dodoma through Manyara region, which will eliminate inconveniences to travelers between the two regions and will stimulate the economic activities of more than 25 villages in those regions. Here's the report by Henry Mabumo, read by Teddy Mparanyanga.
It is a 435.4-kilometer road connecting three regions of Arusha, Manyara and Dodoma, which will be built by the government at a cost of more than 546.2 billion shillings after the evaluation is done and the compensation is paid. The bad condition of this road forces drivers to spend more than 10 hours from Arusha to Dodoma instead of 6 hours.
The condition of the road is very poor. We spend a lot of money for car services. Tires are punctured by stones and car springs are damaged.
In addition, there is a danger due to the dust pollution affecting people of nearby villages, including the village of Losinyai, Oljoro, leading to diseases including eye diseases. We cough, we get flu and fever. The dust coming from the road causes one to get eye diseases, leading to vomiting and diarrhea. The government, through the TANROAD's new procedure for the designing, purchasing and constructing, has allocated 546 billion shillings, and here the Member of Parliament for Simanjiro elaborates how the three regions will benefit.
We intend to construct Arusha Road via Losinyei and Inoti. Instead of cars passing through Babati to Kondoa, we expect many cars will go to Dodoma as soon as possible after construction of the road.
Initially speaking to the people in the village of Losinyai, Simanjiro district, the manager of design, procurement and construction projects, EPC plus finance, engineer Kitainda Michael, elaborates on the implementation of the project.
About 1,000 jobs will be obtained. We need manpower for the accomplishment of this project.
The rate of HIV infection in Mara region has decreased from 4.5% to 3.6% due to the efforts of the government and various stakeholders, including the U.S. President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, PEPFAR, which has been running projects in the region since 2003.
Tanzania broadly has made tremendous progress, tremendous gains addressing the HIV/AIDS epidemic over the last 20 years. I think when PEPFAR started in 2003, there were only 1,000 people accessing antiretroviral drugs, and today there are more than 1.5 million people on life-saving treatment. So PEPFAR is actually, it's really all about partnerships. We work incredibly closely with the government of Tanzania in pursuit of joint objectives of ending the HIV epidemic by 2030. Tanzania has made great strides, as I said. Mara in particular has done very well, but there is certainly still progress to be made. Even though we're very close to reaching the 95 objectives, there are several subgroups where we still need to focus, particularly reaching men and reaching children.
On the other hand, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, Dr. Mahesh Swaminathan, elaborates on how voluntary medical male circumcision, VMMC program, has been transformational in fighting and preventing AIDS.
VMMC, or voluntary male medical circumcision, as we call it, is one of the most important interventions to control the spread of HIV. What I can say is that for now we don't have a vaccine against HIV, and the closest thing we have to that is male circumcision. Male circumcision is very potent and really reduces the risk of acquiring HIV and transmitting it to others. And it's really a critical piece of what Tanzania is doing to control the HIV epidemic. And Tanzania has been quite successful, certainly in Mara region and others, in terms of getting more men to be circumcised. Obviously, the challenge is that, like any medical procedure, any intervention, male circumcision has to fit within the local context, within religion and culture, as well as community practices.
In order to ensure that education continues to contribute to the national economy, a call has been made to accelerate the implementation of higher education for economic development projects at all levels so that the education provided is in line with the needs for economic growth. Here is the report by Monica Liampawe, read by Teddy Mparanyanga.
Tanzania is one of the countries whose economy continues to grow rapidly in the African continent. And this is due to the presence of technological advancements that continue to emerge every day. The implementation of higher education for economic development project is expected to stimulate the growth of the economy if the universities refocus on providing relevant education and skills.
Mradi huu unajaribu kuangalia ni jinsi gani elimu ya juu itakavyosaidia ukuaji.
This project is trying to see how higher level education will help to improve the nation economy. It is seen that the university graduates lack skills that are needed by industries in order to improve the economy. So these changes in the curriculum will help to ensure that the curriculum that will align with the employment market. A student who completes the from SUA upon employment should have the skills to work and become competent.
Sokoine Agricultural University, SUA, is one of the higher education institutions that are going to benefit from the project of higher education for economic reformation.
Geuzi yatakuwa ni makubwa sana kwa sababu tunaongeza idadi ya wanafunzi.
These changes will be very impactful because we will increase the number of students and the learning environment will be improved. That means that we will build more classrooms and that will be a good condition. We will also improve the teaching environment. Apart from the classes, we will improve the laboratories and we will improve the farms.
Mashamba ya mazao na vile mashamba ya wanyama.
Pia tunajikita kwenye kuongeza tija.
We also focus on improving our crops and bringing profit by establishing small local industries. We want our youth to be able to be effective in the industry once they finish the school. They should also be able to create employment opportunities.
Lakini pia waweze kuwa watengenezaji wa ajira.
To implement the project, the Sokoine University of Agriculture, SUA, decides to bring together stakeholders who are to oversee the HEAT project at the university.
Kwa hiyo kuelezea kuhusu mradi tunaelezea hata mambo utekelezaji wa mradi.
In explaining to them about the project, we are also explaining to them about its implementation and the stages that the project has reached. And if there is any issue that may ruin the implementation of the project, today we have called stakeholders to the HEAT project. Here at the Sokoine University, we have chosen some representative of the employee who are also academicians.
Before we wind up our local news tonight, let us now have a look on our today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Dear viewers, do not miss TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Time now for all the latest in international news. And here is the international news compiled by Ramadhan Impenda and read by Teddy Mparanyanga.
Nurse Lucy Letby will spend the rest of her life behind bars for killing 7 newborn babies after a judge on Monday ruled Britain's most prolific serial child killer. The 33-year-old was convicted of murdering 7 babies and attempting to kill 6 other infants at the Countess of Chester Hospital in northern England, where she was working in 2015 and 2016 while working as a nurse in the neonatal unit. Letby deliberately injected babies with air, force-fed others milk, and poisoned 2 of the infants with insulin. She refused to appear in the dock for her sentencing hearing. Letby will face the rest of her life behind bars, becoming only the 4th woman in UK history to receive such a sentence. The Somali government has ordered a ban on TikTok, Telegram, and an online betting site, the 1xBet, claiming that these platforms were being used by other terrorists for propaganda purposes. The decision comes ahead of the second phase of the military offensive against the radical group Al-Shabaab, who have been waging a bloody revolt against the central government in Mogadishu for more than 15 years. In its statement, the Ministry of Communication and Technology in Somalia has said it has ordered internet providers to cut off access to the free platforms by 24th August, and failure to that, legal action would be taken. According to the ministry, TikTok, Telegram, and the 1xBet site are used by terrorists and groups spreading immorality to disseminate violent images and videos and mislead public opinion. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has reiterated that his country will not be forced to side with any global power dynamics. President Ramaphosa's televised address came ahead of the meeting of the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa in Johannesburg on Tuesday. He said instead, South Africa strives to work with all countries for global peace and development, and the act does not mean that South Africa is neutral on matters of principle and national interest. The BRICS nations account for about a quarter of the global economy, and interest in joining the group has surged this year. Zimbabwe opposition leader Nelson Chamisa has ended his last campaign rally in Bulawayo before elections on 23rd August. Nelson Chamisa, 45 years old, is the main opponent of 80-year-old incumbent President Emerson Mnangagwa, who is seeking for another term of presidency. Zimbabwe is battling economic troubles, and many in southern African countries are pinning their hopes for a better future on this presidential vote, expected to be disruptive. And heavy rain has deluged parts of Southern California, with forecasters warning of a potentially historic amount of rain and severe flooding in the usually dry part of the United States as Tropical Storm Hillary raced in from Mexico. 1 person died in Mexico amid reports of flash flooding in the Baja California Peninsula, where some roads were swept away, and images on social media showed torrents of water gushing down city streets that had been turned into rivers. California Governor Gavin Newsom has declared a state of emergency for much of Southern California, with flash flood warnings in effect throughout a region more accustomed to drought.
That was international news. Sports news follows shortly. In sports news, after a good start in the NBC Premier League first match, Mashujaa FC has failed to continue with the winning formula after being held by Gator Gold to a goalless draw after an entertaining counter match played at Lake Tanganyika Stadium in Kigoma. coaches of the two sides say that the match was competitive for both teams. Both teams created many chances but failed to score goals.
We created many chances, but we failed to score, and that is a game of football. We are going to prepare again to see how we can approach the next match. We created few chances, and we failed to score a goal. Our opponent played very well. This is over, and now we are looking for next.
0-0 fair play.
Mashujaa FC have collected 4 points after playing 2 matches, while their rivals Geita Gold have also secured 4 points after winning against Ihefo FC in NBC Premier League opening match. Tanzanians have urged to participate in various marathons which are taking place in their areas to improve their health and build unity in communities. Speaking at the end of Selous Marathon held in Morogoro over the weekend, Chairman of Morogoro Athletic Region Association adds the marathons help to develop athletics and health of people in the country.
We ask people to participate in different races because they help to build good relationships, reduce non-communicable diseases which are now facing our communities.
Selous Marathon involves participants from inside and outside of the country, and the winners have been given medals and cash prizes. That is sports news, and now before we conclude the news bulletin, let's take a look at our weather update.
Once again, this is 24 hours weather forecast from Tanzania Meteorological Authority. Wind flow pattern: wind are expected to flow at the speed of 30 km per hour over the Lake Victoria Basin, while the rest wind expected to flow at the speed of 20 km per hour. And for tonight, we expect future particular condition and average cooler condition over the most part of our country, while the lowest minimum temperature are expected to be 9 degrees Celsius over Mbeya together with Njomba regions. For tomorrow, we expect future particular condition, thunder shower over few rain sun period over Kagera and Mara, while the rest part of our country expect future particular condition and long sun period. Let's have a look for the 4 days weather forecast for some part of our country, starting from the day after tomorrow. We thank you for watching us and have a good night.
That marks the end of our news bulletin for tonight. Don't miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. On behalf of the whole team, I'm Agnes Tuniga. Thank you very much for watching. Good night.
We'll be right back.